Kung Fu Panda 4 is directed by Mike Mitchell. Mitchell's latest film was the Lego Movie 2, the second part, which I thought was a solid sequel to the original. This movie stars Jack Black, who most recently starred in the highest grossing animated movie of the last year, the Super Mario Bros. Movie. This movie is about Po, voiced by Jack Black, who must find and train his successor as the new Dragon Warrior, teams up with Fox Bandit Zen, voiced by Awkwafina, to defeat the evil sorceress, the Chameleon, voiced by Viola Davis, before she steals the kung fu abilities of all masters in China. For context, I love the first two Kung Fu Panda movies. While the first film was great, the franchise really peaked for me with the second film. Kung Fu Panda 2 is not only one of the best animated movies of this century, but one of the best movies and best sequels I have ever seen. However, Kung Fu Panda 3,
pretty mid.
Unfortunately, Kung Fu Panda 4 feels like the weakest entry in this franchise so far, but I didn't want to go into the theater with that mindset. The first 30 minutes or so definitely kept my interest, and I thought this could maybe be another solid entry for this franchise. All of the returning cast members seemed like they cared, and I was initially invested. I think the first red flag this movie waves is the film's lazy excuse to not include the other members of the Furious Five. It felt like the studio was using this as a cost-saving measure. It was fun hearing Ke Huy Quan in the movie because I really like some of the movies he's been in, like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. From an animation standpoint, this looked really cool in the theater. Unfortunately, after the first 30 minutes or so, I just felt bored and the movie just felt like a boring video game quest. I think it also hurt that there hasn't been a theatrically released Kung Fu Panda movie in over 8 years. It may just be that I'm nostalgic for the earlier entries, but I just hope there's an improvement with later sequels. I personally give this 2 buckets of popcorn or 2 stars, a 4 out of 10 with a letter grade C. If you're a die-hard DreamWorks fan, maybe you'll like this, but I'm waiting for this to drop on Peacock. Is not a bad choice at all. Masters of the Air is one of the newest miniseries on Apple TV. Episodes 1 through 4 are directed by Kari Joji Fukunaga. He has made some feature films and directed episodes of other popular miniseries like True Detective. Episode 4 and 5 are directed by Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck. They recently directed the 2019 MCU movie Captain Marvel. Episodes 7 through 8 are directed by Dee Rees, and episode 9 is directed by Dim Van Patten, who has directed several episodes of The Sopranos, Deadwood, and Game of Thrones. All 3 of those are very popular HBO shows. This show is based on a 2007 book of the same name by Donald L. Miller. The show follows the actions of the 100th Bomb Group, a Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress heavy bomber unit in the 8th Air Force in Eastern England during World War II. The series is a companion to other miniseries including Band of Brothers and The Pacific. Both of those were released on HBO. All 3 of these miniseries were executively produced by Tom Hanks and Steven Spielberg. This show stars Austin Butler, who was recently in Dune Part 2. I've criminally never watched Band of Brothers or The Pacific. The only other show I've watched on Apple TV is Ted Lasso, which I do like, but this show absolutely is the best thing I've seen from the streaming service so far. This show is, as of right now, my favorite piece of media, TV show or movie I've seen from this year so far. Every episode was entertaining. The main characters have interesting storylines that are mostly historically accurate. The main theme sounds amazing, and I never wanted to skip it. It's action-packed, violent, and the acting makes it seem like whenever someone dies on screen, it seems legitimate. The last episode was my favorite of the bunch, but there was never a dull episode. My flaws for this show was that sometimes there are some scenes that are too dark, like poorly lit, but they may just be a consequence of watching this show in my bright living room. It's not a perfect show by any means, but it's definitely the best content I've seen from Apple. I personally give this 4 buckets of popcorn, letter grade B. I currently rated this 4 stars on letterboxd.com. If you're looking for something to watch on Apple TV, look no further.